spent in a miserable way.
U.S. News 2020 Democrats agree Theyre very, very sorry. The New York Times. By N. The Democratic Party's presidential hopefuls differ on their approach to policy issues such as income inequality and climate change, but on one thing there is almost uniform agreement: that they're all very, very sorry. The most recent high-profile me-too came Thursday when Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts to prove her decades-old claim of Native American ancestry. Former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. recently, in crafting the tough-on-crime drug legislation of the 1980s and 1990s, Senator Kamala, the spate of sorries is indicative of a crowded field of Democratic candidates who understand that the party's increasingly diverse base can be uncompromising on issues such as discrimination, criminal justice reform and immigration, and often expect candidates to stand more boldly on questions of identity including race, gender and sexuality. This is about morals, said Stephen Drahozl, the chair of the Dubuque County Democrats in Iowa. He said voters, what is less clear is whether what works in a primary will be harmful in the general election, and whether the cascade of apologies risks making Democrats look like the hypersensitive, politically correct crowd Republicans make them out to be, especially when compared with President Trump, who often insults and offends people and almost never apologizes for anything. The zero tolerance on issues of race also played out in by nearly all the Democratic presidential candidates that government. Ralph Northam, of the political strategist and crisis communication expert, said the sensitivity speaks to how quickly the center of gravity has shifted for Democrats on key issues. As recently as for candidates seeking to lead the party into its post-Obama era, their hope is that the base is more concerned with defeating President Trump and Republicans than holding every candidate to rigid standards of ideological purity. There is no perfect progressive candidate. There is no perfect anyone, said Yvette Simpson, Chief Executive of Democracy for America, a political group that is trying to build grassroots support for the Democratic nominee. We've also got to give people grace and space to grow and to acknowledge that, she added. I am always open, but this is not true for more ideologically leftist elements of the party, who are more interested in building support based on ideals than the success or failure of any individual Democrat. Waleed Shahid, a spokesman for Justice Democrats, the group that helped elect Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York and is targeting several incumbent legislators in the House, recently shared an old video of Ms. Harris critiquing the social justice mantra schools, not jails. This video is from 2013, but it's still pretty disappointing to hear Kamala Harris mock one of the slogans of the movement to end mass incarceration: schools, not jails. Many of the people. Another reason for the run of apologies was a 2016 presidential election that totally upended the playbook, political observers said. While Mr. Trump offended people across the political spectrum without paying a price, Democrats saw their base repeatedly penalize Hillary Clinton over her past policies and rhetoric. Candidates this cycle have been determined to not mimic Mrs. Clinton's fate, said Zach Petkar, a Democratic strategist who served as a senior advisor to Mrs. Clinton in 2016. He said he was not there trying to address any potential issue that could come up on the campaign trail so they can later point to the fact that they have addressed it in the past and that they have moved on from it, Mr. Petkar said. In a lot of ways, it's a way to avoid a sort of email situation that Hillary Clinton went through, where she was asked for months and months and months whether she would apologize, he said. When she did. But not all apologies are created equal, said two crisis communications experts who have counseled public figures and companies through scandal. Voters want to see. Historically, voters have also taken into account who is doing the apologizing. Female politician Andrew Gilman, the chief executive of the Washington-based crisis communications firm Comcore Consulting Group, said politicians are recognizing that some voters and constituencies might not be receptive to their message unless they apologize for past blunders first. This might be a precondition for some people to listen to the rest of what you want to say, Mr. Gilman said. But I think you need to. Sarah Brady, a crisis and reputation management expert, said that apologies do make a difference if they convey sincerity. The general public is really forgiving, but they also see through inauthenticity. They know when an apology. For Democrats, the frequency of apologies has already reached parody status. Mr. Gilman said, on Friday, when Ms. Warren's apology became public and Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, the site merged the two themes into Cory Booker apologizes to Wall Street bankers for the mean things he is going to have to say about them.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,